Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and it's an honor to get up and to address and ask a few questions about Bill 25, the Child and Youth Advocate Act. Very pleased to see this coming forward. There's two roles of government in my mind. The first one that we often think as we come together as citizens is we want government to protect our life, our freedoms, and our property. But the second and most critical part is to pass laws and legislation that protect those who can't protect themselves. And to me, this is what Bill 25 comes under, is that we need to protect those tragic cases where our youth are not able to protect themselves. And we've had a sad history here in Alberta of not responding in adequate time or in appropriate ways too often here in Alberta. And Edmonton Centre, stay calm. I want to I guess, is my own, some of the tragic experiences at MLA is to see people come into our offices that are facing life crises. My honourable member from Airdrie-Chestermere was able to help an individual who had life-threatening surgery to get reimbursed. My honourable colleague from Fort McMurray at this time has, and again today Shane Wombolt was here, who needed a life-saving surgery, and it didn't happen. But these were people that were in a situation where they could go out and take it into their own hands and do something, though the government still hasn't responded in an appropriate time. And the reason why I bring those up, Mr. Speaker, is because when these tragedies hit Albertans, every one of us are vulnerable to that. And there's times where government, just for whatever reason, gets bogged down, caught in technicalities, and doesn't seem to be able to move forward with common sense and immediate actions. When we go into our hospitals, if it's not a crisis or an emergency, often people wait for 8 hours, 12 hours to get a response. When it's been an accident and they're coming on air ambulance or critical, it's right now, and we got some of the best in the world of responses, but there's areas where we can't. But I want to talk a little bit about my struggles with baby Elizabeth and the problems that they faced as the grandparents tried to save their grandchild from a tragic situation. And they contacted the minister's office, they contacted social services, they told them the problems, they went to the doctors, they went to the police, and nothing was done. And this child lost its life because of the inadequacy of our children's services here in this province. And Mr. Speaker, it's wrong. But the struggles that I've seen the grandparents as they've come in and showed that the 42 days of trying to get and rescue their granddaughter and say that we will even look after them, and no response, was just wrong. And so I hope that as we study and look at this bill, that we'll realize that we need to act. And it shouldn't take 42 days. When a child goes in and has x-rays and has 2 broken limbs, and the medical people say that this is abuse and nothing was done, is wrong. And when we have meetings that are held and questions asked, but no notes kept, and you have to ask, why would there be no notes kept? It just seems like all they were doing was covering themselves, but not protecting those who needed to be helped. And so, Mr. Speaker, I apologize for getting emotional on this, but I've been with the grandparents, I've gone through this case, and it's tragic, and it shouldn't have happened in Alberta, and it shouldn't happen while we're here. And so I hope that as we go through that we'll take the time, we'll look at the details, we'll make sure that we have a child advocate that can act, that you can call, and that something is done, and not go through weeks and months looking for an answer and then losing a child. And so, you have a Kleenex there? There we go. But, Mr. Speaker, one of the concerns that I do have in here, and our Premier talked about this in her leadership, was to have a serious incidents review team. And I'm not sure that this is in here, But one of the things that to me is critical, is just like our emergency rooms, when someone comes in, they can act and they can move it now. I mean, the discussions that there were quotas, that we've taken too many children out of the home already, that we don't want to act prematurely. This is a real struggle when we're trying to protect someone who can't protect themselves and who, as a child, can't even often speak for themselves. This is critical. And we need to have the best people employed there. We need to give them the resources that they need so that they can act in a speedy and quick way. And as I say, Mr. Speaker, again, this legislation is all coming so fast and so quick, and I appreciate the need of this coming forward, but we need to make sure that we have this right and not be like some of our other bills where after 3 years we're still struggling to try and get it right. And so, like I say, we need to have a response team. We need to empower the advocate that they can actually move out and take the action that is needed. And again, sometimes we're going to perhaps overstep, but with the tragic deaths that we've had here in this province, we can't go forward the way that we have. And with that, Mr. Speaker, at this point, I guess I'd just like to adjourn debate.
No, don't.
And we'll
Brian, adjourn.
come back. So I move to adjourn.